Hey everybody, it's Lo and welcome back to my channel, Lo Without Limits. In this video, I'm going to break down what progressive overloading is and how to do it. So if you want to see that, then just keep watching. A few weeks ago, I shared a video on the 5 compound moves that you must be doing no matter how you're working out. And another thing to incorporate into your personal workout programming is progressive overload. And again, this is something that should be included whether you're lifting super heavy, super light, you're going for strength, power, muscle building, or even just to stay in shape. So no matter how you're working out, no matter where you're working out, progressive overload is a really important thing to incorporate in order to further reach all of your fitness goals. Now, what is progressive overload? Well, apparently I only wrote a very small note of it in my notebook when studying for the CPT exam. But what I wrote here is progressive overload, increasing intensity or volume of a program with a systematic and gradual approach. Now, what exactly does that mean and how do you actually incorporate it? As I mentioned in relation to various things multiple times on my channel, our bodies are great at adapting to the stressors that we place on it. So in terms of working out, the stressor that we're placing onto our body is the exercise and the load, the weight, the endurance, the capacity that our body needs in order to do the exercise, to do a certain amount of reps at a certain amount of weight. It will adapt to that by either increasing our oxygen consumption, especially for endurance and running, or it will just add strength and muscle in order to do those reps and sets and weights at a way to where it won't feel like it's struggling and it can do so effectively. So as our body adapts to this workout, it makes it a little bit easier. But to continue working towards your fitness goals, an easy workout doing the same weight at the same reps won't provide you with the necessary challenge to reach all those goals that you are setting out to achieve. That's where progressive overload comes in. Now, to break it down, progressive, slow, systematic, gradual, not jumping around and shooting up your weight here and then going back down and just leaping all around. It's a gradual change. You're slowly going up. And then overload is to increase. Again, you don't want to decrease. That's not going to help you reach your goals at all. And that's the way to continue to further and to continue to gain more strength or build more muscle, whatever it is that you personally want to do. Now, one of the main ways to do that is by increasing your overall volume. Now, if you remember from a recent video, volume is the sets times the reps times the load or the weight in order to calculate the total volume that was done for that exercise or for that body part. And to increase overall volume, you can increase any of those 3 factors. So you can add just another set of the same number of reps at the same weight, or you can do some more reps at a slightly lighter weight, or you can do fewer reps at a heavier weight. Anything that when you multiply all of those together shows an increase from the previous time that you did it. Now, going further in depth of that, one of the simplest ways to do it is just by adding another rep or 2 to each set that you're doing. And this really works out if you're working with a rep range in your workout programming. For example, you're lifting super heavy, you're training for strength, so your rep range, you're doing 4 sets of 4 to 6 reps for each set. You can start off by picking a weight where 4 reps for each set is pretty challenging, and you just do that 4 times. And then the next time that weight feels good, but maybe in sets 2 and 3, you can actually bust out 5 reps. And then you keep doing that at the same weight until you get to 4 sets of 6 reps, that top of your rep range. And then once you can do all 4 sets, your highest reps in that range comfortably with that weight, comfortably in the sense that you're not struggling, you have really good form, and you feel like, I could have even busted out a 7th one with good form. At that point, you're going to add on enough weight until you start doing it again, and you can go back down to the bottom of that rep range. In this situation would be 4 reps. If you really don't want to play around with your rep range, you just want to do 4 sets of 6 reps every single time, you will do so until you feel good at it, and then just continue to add weight to always maintain that 6 reps. That may mean starting off this exercise doing 6 reps at a certain weight, but then for set 3, you're like, I could do 6 reps at, a few more pounds. So just even adding on more weight or doing 5 sets of 4 to 6 reps if you just want to bust out a whole other set of whatever it is that you're capable of doing. All of those factors, again, the sets, the reps, the weight, something in that being changed does lead to an increase in the overall volume for that exercise. And just because progressive overload is really important and all of these factors do increase the overall volume, doesn't mean that you have to. Just because it's the following week, it's time to do that exercise routine once again, you don't have to go up in weight. There are so many factors that play into this. You may have gotten a poor night's sleep, you may have just not have eaten well, you may just feel a little sore still, you didn't recover from a couple of days ago. So depending on where you're at, you're not going to be able to do so every single time. It might begin to feel a little bit easier. For example, I've been doing single arm rows, 4 sets of 10 reps for a few weeks now. The rep range I've given to myself is 8 to 12, and I just can't really go past 10. And usually at the end of my 3rd and 4th set, it's feeling a little bit of a struggle. Again, I'm still doing it with good form, but lately I can get to the end of those sets and still struggle and still feel that challenge and feel like my muscles are really working, but it has become slightly easier to where maybe next week I will be able to bust out 11 or 12 reps for at least one of the sets. And if you do want to progressively overload using volume as your metric, a good rule of thumb to use is by increasing your volume by 5% each workout. This does vary depending on just how you're feeling that day. You might not be able to do so, but given every day is the same and you're ready for a workout, you're feeling good, you're well rested, and you're ready to progressively overload, keeping 5% in mind when calculating your volume is a really good starting place. However, this 5% also does vary based on the exercise that you're using and the volume that you already have. 5% of 100 is very different than 5% of 1,000. I know 1,000 sounds crazy, but when it comes to volume, it's not that crazy. And then also just for the exercises, some things are a lot easier to increase your volume in. So for example, a back squat, since you are using so many more muscles and so many larger muscles than a lateral raise. Now, just to give an example of increasing volume by 5%, I did some math for you here. So I'm gonna say that we're doing 5 sets of 5 reps of the back squat at 135 pounds. So a bar with a 45-pound plate on each side. Now the total volume for that is 3,375. And I know it sounds crazy, but 5 times 5 is 25 times the 135, you get nearly 3,400 pounds. So at a 5% increase of that means adding another 168.75 pounds. Adding that to the original number, the 5% increase number would be about 3,544 pounds. So you can reach that by increasing the same weight. You're still doing 5 sets of 5 reps and you just want to increase the weight, then you just need to increase it to 142, adding 7 more pounds to that and still doing your 5 by 5, or you can increase your reps. So instead of doing 5 sets of 5 at 135 pounds, you can keep your 135 pounds, but for 2 of those sets, you just need to do 6 reps. So by adding just 2 more reps, you're reaching that goal of increasing your volume by 5%. Just by going off of volume alone, it's super easy to really play around with progressive overload, and not every week, again, has to be the same. Some weeks you might be getting more reps in, some weeks you might be comfortable with adding a bit more weight. So it really depends on where you are. But an easier way without having to bust out the calculator before you're at the gym or at the gym is to just feel it out. Because in the end, as long as it feels good and you're doing it with good form, that's what's important. And then afterwards you can look back and say, oh yeah, I did have a nice little increase. So this way you're not doing math saying like, how many should I actually use? Should I go up by 7 pounds or point this many pounds? Just feeling it out and going up to the next one, not having to think too much about it. And then if you do want to calculate it afterwards, you can just compare the numbers after your workout. You can also challenge your endurance as a way to progressively overload during your workout. So instead of waiting 2.5 minutes between sets, maybe you're just waiting 2 or 1 or 30 seconds. Of course, that also does vary based on your goals. If you're lifting super heavy for a few reps, definitely wait like 2 minutes. That way your muscles can get all of their ATP back and get some energy so you can do it once again. But if you are doing something that's maybe higher up with lighter weight, then you can just decrease your rest periods a little bit. This is a really good way to progressively overload if you are working out with limited equipment or you're working out at home, so you don't have access to a bunch of of plates and different ways to increase your weight, especially if you are doing a lot of body weight stuff. So just by decreasing your rest periods and then adding more reps is a really good way to progressively overload without having to require as much equipment, and is also just a really good way to increase endurance. But again, even though your endurance is increasing and you're busting out more reps in maybe a shorter amount of time, maybe it's a bit more HIIT, so high intensity interval training style, still maintaining good form and not getting super sloppy just because you're trying to bust out more reps and do something quicker. Editing low here, and before I jump into the very last way that you can progressively overload, I just realized that there is one that I forgot to mention, and that is intensity. This is also a really good one if you don't have a ton of equipment available, you only have a few different weights, or you're using resistance bands. Changing the intensity and just by slowing down each rep is a really good way to progressively overload and make a movement using the same weight either harder or easier. If you're going faster, that makes the move a lot easier because you are still using some momentum. But if you really slow down and focus on each rep, especially if you really slow it down during the lowering part of your rep, so for a squat, instead of just letting the weight take your body down by going really, really slow, almost like you're resisting the weight bringing you down as you go down, and then again rising back up. So going really slow on the downward part, even for a bicep curl, instead of just letting the weight bring your hand forward, let it go back really slow, and then also slow on the top. So just by extending the length of that rep on the way down, holding at the bottom, and then at the way up, and even holding at the top a bit too, also because that's really good for you to just kind of like regroup before going into the next rep. Really slowing it down, feeling just how the motion works, really feeling your body during the movement, really connecting, having that mind-muscle connection with those muscles that are being worked is another really, really good way to progressively overload. Again, even if you aren't increasing your weight at all, you only have some dumbbells at home, there are so many ways that just by slowing down each rep, you can actually make it seem so much harder. So then the next time you do get some heavier weights and you're doing them at a more normal tempo, then it even feels a little bit easier because you're so used to having that muscle connection and your muscles just working really effectively. And the last way to progressively overload is just by adding either another day or another exercise to your workout routine. So this is by increasing frequency. If you do have time to do an extra day at the gym and you want to do another full body day, just doing that alone, even if it's lighter weight than the other days, or you're just not doing as much, or you're spreading out the exercises, by doing that and adding a few more exercises, a few more sets of different things throughout the week, your overall weekly volume is increasing and you're overall progressively overloading throughout the entire week, even if not seeing a change in just one day or one exact routine in the following week. Maybe you are changing up your workout programming and you're actually adding a second exercise that targets the same muscles. So while not progressively overloading on that exact exercise, you will be progressively overloading by adding more frequency and more training volume to the overall muscle group. So if my squats are staying the same, but I'm starting to incorporate some hip thrusts, even if those hip thrusts aren't super heavy, just by adding that whole extra exercise and doing some reps, some sets, some weight of something else for that same muscle group, I'm increasing my overall intensity and my overall frequency for my glutes for that specific example. So just by doing that and increasing your training frequency and number of exercises or training days if possible is another way to progressively overload your training plan. And just a reminder again that not every day is a chance to progressively overload. Again, our sleep matters, our diet matters, just how we're feeling, if we're super stressed. For women, what time in our cycle we are also at definitely affects our workout capabilities. So just taking all of that into consideration, that if you are doing the same as last week, or maybe you couldn't even do as much as last week, it's okay. Not every day is going to be, your next best workout, your next best PR. And by chasing that, it's also going to lead to more burnout and potentially even some risk for injury, instead of really taking care of your body and listening to like, okay, can I do one more rep? Can I do it with good form? Do I have the energy to do this? So just by really paying attention to those cues will also help your body reach your fitness goals faster, instead of overwhelming it and trying to do more than it's actually capable of. Well, there you have it. That is what progressive overload is and the different ways you can do it in order to see progress in your workout and fitness goals. I hope you learned something new and have the chance to incorporate it into your own workout programming. And if you do want your own personal workout programming, whether you do have gym access or just home access, I would love to chat with you and potentially build you a workout plan. So definitely just let me know. You can just reach out to me either in the comments or by email. I'll have that down below in the description box as well, and I would love to chat with you about that. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, comment down below your favorite way to progressively overload and what else you want to see here on my channel. And while you're there, be sure to subscribe. I upload a new video every Wednesday. So until the next one, thanks for watching.